Most men don't lose women because they're bad partners. They lose them because they miss the signs, the quiet phrases, the subtle shifts in tone, the little sentences that say everything without saying much at all. You think she's just venting. You think it's harmless. But every word she chooses reveals a pattern, a glimpse into how she sees love, power, and you. And when you ignore those patterns, you don't just lose attraction, you lose respect. Here's the truth: women communicate in layers. They test without announcing it. They reveal through emotion what they'll never admit in logic. And most men, blinded by desire or fear, never notice until it's too late. This isn't about hating women. It's about hearing them clearly. Because once you understand the psychology behind what's being said, you stop reacting and start observing. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. So in this breakdown, we're going to expose 7 phrases, 7 subtle sentences that tell you everything you need to know about her mindset. The ones most men ignore until they're too deep to walk away. Pay attention. Because once you start recognizing these cues, you'll never unhear them again. And when that happens, you don't just become harder to manipulate. You become impossible to confuse. Every word a woman speaks is a reflection of her inner world. Not every sentence means what it sounds like. Some are built to protect, some to test, and some to control. In psychology, we call this emotional projection. It's when a person uses language to express what they can't confront directly. So when she says something that sounds innocent, there's often a deeper intention behind it. Fear, entitlement, resentment, or even guilt. And here's what most men never realize: words are patterns. They're habits of the subconscious. A woman doesn't wake up one day and say, "I think I'll manipulate someone." No. She simply repeats the language that has always worked for her. The phrases that helped her feel safe, in control, or superior. If you're not paying attention, those words shape your behavior without you even noticing. They reprogram how you respond, how you apologize, how you give. And over time, you're no longer leading the relationship. You're reacting to it. This is why awareness matters. Because once you start hearing not what she says, but why she says it, everything changes. You stop personalizing her moods. You start understanding her motives. And when you understand the motive behind the message, you stop being the target and start becoming the observer. 1. I don't want anything serious right now. The illusion of innocence: it sounds harmless, even honest. She says it with a smile, maybe a little laugh, as if she's just being transparent. But underneath that sentence lies a quiet truth. She's already decided how much of herself she'll give you. And it's not much. When a woman says she doesn't want anything serious, she's setting the boundaries of emotional investment. She's telling you, "I'll take the benefits of your attention, but not the responsibility of your commitment." And most men hear those words and think, "I can change her mind." They think persistence will make her see their worth. But psychology says otherwise. You can't convince someone into readiness. Emotional availability isn't a negotiation. It's a state of being. If she's closed off now, she'll stay that way later. Her actions will match her priorities. And your effort will only feed her comfort, not her connection. The moment she says she doesn't want anything serious, believe her. Because what follows isn't love. It's attachment built on denial. Takeaway: walking away from someone uncertain isn't rejection. It's self-respect in motion. 2. I need space. The disguised power shift: few words trigger men faster than these. I need space. It sounds like she just wants time to think. But often, it's a test, a quiet experiment in control. In female psychology, space means emotional leverage. It's a way to observe your reaction without taking accountability. If you panic, chase, or over-explain, you prove you're reactive, not grounded. She learns that she can shift your mood with a single phrase. And from that moment, the power dynamic changes. The key is understanding that space is not rejection. It's communication through distance. What you do with that distance defines your value. If you respect her boundary while staying calm, composed, and purpose-driven, you demonstrate internal strength. You become rare. If you beg for clarity, you teach her she can earn attention by withholding affection. So when she says she needs space, don't argue. Don't chase. Just nod, step back, and focus on your own rhythm. Takeaway: space isn't the enemy. It's the mirror. How you handle silence shows her who you really are. 3. I'm not like other women. The hidden ego game. This one sounds flattering at first. Different. Unique. She positions herself as the exception, the woman who gets it. But pay attention. Every time someone insists they're not like others, they're usually exactly the same, just better at marketing it. This phrase is a framing tactic. It creates emotional contrast. She paints other women as dramatic, materialistic, or shallow, so you subconsciously place her above them. That contrast earns her instant credibility without her having to prove anything. In relationships, that's dangerous. Because now she doesn't have to meet your standards. She just has to remind you that she's not like the rest. Over time, you'll notice the irony. The ones who say this the loudest are often the quickest to gossip, compare, or manipulate. Takeaway: don't reward declarations, reward consistency. Let actions reveal the difference, not words rehearsed for effect. 4. You deserve better than me. The victim's armor. At first, it sounds humble, maybe even sweet. A woman says, "You deserve better than me," and your instinct is to comfort her, to say, "No, you're amazing." But that's exactly the trap. This phrase is emotional pre-insurance. It protects her ego from accountability. If the relationship fails, she can say, "See, I warned you." In psychology, this is called self-handicapping. It's when someone lowers expectations so they don't have to take responsibility later. But here's the danger. When you accept this statement, you silently agree to carry her emotional load. You take on the role of the fixer, the redeemer, the patient savior. And that's not love. That's emotional labor disguised as devotion. Remember, a healthy woman doesn't warn you she's trouble. She works on herself so she can show up fully. Takeaway: if she tells you you deserve better, believe her. She's not being poetic. She's confessing. 5. I don't know what I want. The mask of indecision. This one destroys more men than betrayal ever could. Because it sounds harmless. It sounds honest. But in reality, it's emotional misdirection. When someone truly values you, clarity follows. They don't play guessing games. They don't keep you waiting. I don't know what I want isn't confusion. It's control. It keeps you invested, chasing certainty that will never come. She gets the comfort of your effort, without the accountability of commitment. You stay stuck in a loop, hoping she'll eventually figure it out. But psychology is clear. Indecision is still a decision. And usually, it's a decision to keep options open. Think of it like this. If you walked into a store and the owner said, "I don't know if I'm selling anything," you'd leave. But in love, men wait in that store for months, hoping the sign will change. Takeaway: uncertainty is emotional currency. Don't invest where the price keeps changing. 6. My ex was crazy. The projection warning. This line reveals more about her than any story she tells. Because if every man in her past was crazy, what's the common factor? Projection is a defense mechanism. It means blaming others to avoid looking at yourself. So when she constantly labels exes as toxic, abusive, or unstable, she's building a narrative. A story where she's always the victim and never the cause. It doesn't mean her exes were perfect, but it does mean she avoids self-reflection. And that's a problem. Because the same lack of reflection that ruined her past relationships will poison yours next. Over time, you'll notice the pattern repeat. Minor disagreements become red flags. Criticism turns into gaslighting. Every conflict becomes proof that you're the next crazy ex in the making. Takeaway: judge people less by how they describe others and more by what their stories reveal about themselves. If she blames everyone, eventually she'll blame you. 7. I don't need a man. The shield of defense. This phrase sounds powerful, independent, modern. But peel back the layers, and it's rarely confidence. It's armor. I don't need a man is often spoken by someone who's been hurt deeply, someone who equates dependence with danger. So she builds a wall, calls it strength, and hides behind it. The truth is, no one truly needs a man or a woman. We need connection, trust, and partnership. We need respect and reciprocity. When someone denies that, they're not being strong, they're being scared. They've mistaken isolation for independence. The risk for you, as a man, is thinking you can prove your worth to someone committed to resisting it. You'll spend months trying to earn trust in a place where trust is forbidden, and in that chase, you lose yourself. Takeaway: real independence doesn't reject connection. It welcomes it from a place of choice, not fear. When she says she doesn't need you, believe her. Then keep walking. Notice something. Each of these phrases sounds simple, even ordinary. But in psychology, repetition creates conditioning. When you hear them often enough, you start adapting to them. You start accepting half love, half truths, half respect. And before long, you're not in a relationship. You're in a negotiation. Every phrase above is a linguistic fingerprint, a sign of how someone sees power and intimacy. If you ignore them, you invite confusion. But if you recognize them early, you protect your peace. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove anything. You just listen, observe, and choose differently. That's how a man keeps his clarity. That's how respect stays alive. The question most men ask is simple. Why do these patterns keep showing up? Different women, same words. Different faces, same energy. The answer lies deep in human psychology. People repeat what once kept them safe. If manipulation brought attention, they'll use it again. If guilt worked once, it becomes instinct. Every phrase, I need space, I don't know what I want, you deserve better, isn't random. It's learned behavior. It's emotional muscle memory. In relationships, most people aren't trying to deceive you. They're trying to protect themselves. The woman who says, I don't need a man, was probably hurt for needing one before. The one who says, my ex was crazy, might be avoiding the pain of her own mistakes. It's not always malice. It's fear wearing sophistication. But here's where men go wrong. They try to fix what fear created. They think patience will heal insecurity, that love will outgrow dysfunction. It never does. Because what's unhealed in someone will eventually project onto you. These phrases keep repeating because they work. They create control, comfort, and emotional distance. And unless you recognize them early, you'll become another chapter in someone's unfinished story. Awareness breaks the cycle. When you stop reacting emotionally and start observing behavior, you stop feeding the pattern. You stop being chosen for confusion and start being respected for clarity. Understanding doesn't make you cynical, it makes you calm. Because once you see the psychology behind the words, you stop falling for the performance and start responding to the truth. When you finally start hearing the truth beneath the words, everything changes. The chaos fades, the confusion clears, and what's left is clarity. The rarest kind of peace a man can earn. You realize that not every, I need space, is an invitation to chase. Not every, I don't know what I want, deserves your patience. And not every, you deserve better than me, is humility. Sometimes it's a warning. The more you listen, the less you react. You stop arguing with manipulation and start walking away from it. You stop trying to win validation from someone who benefits from your doubt. That's freedom. Not the loud, rebellious kind, but the quiet, disciplined kind that comes from self-respect. Because when you finally stop fighting for confusion, you make space for peace. When you stop excusing bad behavior, you make room for growth. And when you stop chasing potential, you start attracting truth. This isn't about hate. It's about awareness. It's about learning to hear the language of intention, so you never lose yourself trying to earn someone else's love again. So the next time you hear those words, pause. Don't argue. Don't explain. Just remember what they mean. You've already seen this movie before. And this time, you know how it ends. Walk away with peace, not pain. Because awareness isn't just knowledge, it's freedom.